What's up, guys? Happy New Year. 2014 now. That's awesome, I guess. Hope you had a good time. Hope everyone got home safe. I've been noticing in our RGS group that a lot of you picked up a 3DS for Christmas. And a lot of you have been asking, what game should I play? So I thought I'd take a few minutes and just kind of go through a few that I have laying around here and, give a little bit of an opinion. Probably not a lot. I'll throw in some video of each one of the games so you can see it for yourself. But I don't know. Sit back and enjoy. Let's get started with a little action and adventure. First game that I've actually had quite a bit of fun playing is Shinobi. Now, Shinobi, I guess you could call it, it's not a remake. It's kind of a new take, I guess. Controls are very similar to the old Shinobi. They're a lot more fluid, and it's a lot of fun. I recommend checking it out. Up next, Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Now, this is probably more similar to the Castlevania game that was released a few years ago on the consoles, on the PS3 and the Xbox. I wasn't the biggest fan of the kind of like rethinking of the Castlevania series, but this one isn't bad. You know, it's mostly 2.5D. You got your whip. You can do some fun stuff. I don't know. Belmont's back. Now these next two, I call them action-adventure games. You can call them whatever you want, but they're both Zeldas. I would definitely pick up this one, Ocarina of Time 3D. I think it's the best way to play the game. If you haven't played the game, definitely check it out on the 3DS. It's not extremely easy to come by these days from what I've seen around the city here, but you can eBay it. It's not a problem. And then, of course, A Link Between Worlds. I don't really need to say anything. You guys know it's awesome. If you don't have it, I'd suggest picking it up. Okay, the next genre that I'm going to talk about, I only have two games to go over here, and that's the puzzle genre. I love puzzle games. I always have. I was a big fan of Dr. Mario, Puyo Pop, or what's it called? Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and Kirby's Avalanche, I think, were kind of the Americanized versions of Puyo Pop that we've seen, at least in the really retro consoles. But anyway, two puzzle games, that's what I have. The first one's Bust-A-Move Universe. It's probably not the best version of Bust-A-Move in the world, but it's fun. I had a good time with it. And then the other one is a recent addition to my collection, and that is Shifting World. Let's see if I can get this here. And in Shifting World, it's a black and white game where you traverse through levels. You can shift between 2D and 3D planes. It's okay. It's a fun little distraction. I paid about $9 for it, and it was worth the $9. Moving on, let's look at the shooters that I have for the 3DS. There are probably a few more out there. I love shooters. I don't always buy them on handhelds because I prefer to play them on the big screen. But these are pretty good games on the 3DS, and I've enjoyed them. I haven't beat it. I've beat one. That's I kind of beat it a long time ago, whenever it originally came out, so it wasn't that difficult. But anyway, my first suggestion would be to check out Dream Trigger 3D. This was released pretty close, if not at launch of the console. It's a fun experience. It's pretty. It's bright. It's flashy. Another one kind of along the same lines is Nano Assault. I had a lot of fun playing Nano Assault. It's a good time. Once again, bright, shiny colors, if you can see this. Getting some glare. But it's definitely worth checking out. It's got to be next to nothing to pick up. And then finally, we've got Star Fox 64 3D. Star Fox 64 is probably one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games. I liked it better than the Super Nintendo version of Star Fox. Star Fox 3D, check it out if you've never played it. It's a lot of fun if you have played it. The 3DS actually does it good justice. The last genre I'm going to cover is one of my favorites. I tend to collect mostly from this genre, and so my pile's a little bigger for the 3DS. And that's the RPG genre. I know it's kind of a love or hate thing, Not a lot of people have all the time in the world to sit around and play these. I actually prefer to play them on handhelds, as I've mentioned in the past, because I can do it at night before I go to bed. And some of the handheld RPGs are, they're not shorter, but there's, nice little save features, and the chapters might not be as long, so it's pretty conducive to that. The first one I want to go over, I guess it's an RPG. I didn't really know where to put it, and that's Virtue's Last Reward, which is basically part 2 to 999 on the DS. And if you haven't played 999 or Virtue's Last Reward, I highly recommend both games. Virtue's Last Reward can be purchased on the Vita also. So if you have a Vita, you might check it out on there. If I hadn't already purchased it on the 3DS, then I'd probably rather play it on the Vita. The second game that I have here is Tales of the Abyss, which is a port, obviously, from the PS2 game with the same name. It's a great RPG. This is the first time I've beaten it was on the 3DS. I own it on the PS2, but never got into it, and it transitions fairly well. It's a great RPG. I'm not the biggest fan of the Tales games, to be honest, and this one caught my attention and held me pretty much through the entire game without any kind of lag or slowdown or boredom. So check it out. This next one is Ghost Recon Shadow Wars, and this game came out and I saw some kind of teasers for it, and I thought, well, it looks okay. I've always been a pretty big fan of a lot of the Tom Clancy games, especially the New Vegas games. Those were pretty awesome. Not New Vegas, sorry. The Rainbow Six Vegas games. I had a lot of fun with my friends playing those, years and years ago. This is a tactical RPG. It's not the most difficult in the world. It's a really easy to pick up and play, and I had a lot of fun with it. So check it out. It's got to be cheap. Now, these next two are some of my personal favorites, and actually I have them both sealed because after playing them I decided that I wanted a sealed copy of each for my collection, and those are going to be Soul Hackers, which is it's kind of like a first-person perspective dungeon crawler, I guess. It was released in Japan on, I want to say, the Saturn. It could have been the Dreamcast, but I'm pretty sure it was released on the Saturn. Someone feel free to correct me in the comments. But it's a fun game. It's really difficult. Most of the Shin Megami Tensei stuff can be pretty brutal. You kind of have to get used to it. They're not as big of a deal for me because I've been playing SMT games for a number of years, so I kind of understand how the magic system works and all that. But I would check it out. I don't think I'd recommend it as your first introduction into the Shin Megami Tensei world unless you really, really want a challenge, at least not with Soul Hackers, because it's pretty difficult, and if you have no experience and don't know what you're doing, it can be pretty frustrating. Kind of in the same note, Shin Megami Tensei 4. This is like the collector's edition. It comes with a book and a soundtrack, I believe, in the game. It's a solid game. Much like Soul Hackers, this was a new game, I believe, that was released for the 3DS, so I'd probably recommend it on the 3DS over Soul Hackers. There's another game called, let's see, Demon Survivor, I think. I think that's the one that was released also on the 3DS. It's while Soul Hacker and SMT4 are more of a first-person dungeon crawling RPG, the other game is more of a tactical RPG. They're fun games. Once again, you either love SMT games or you don't. If you've never played one, I'd probably say give 4 a shot if you need a game on the 3DS. There are a few other games that I've either let people borrow or I don't actually own that I can recommend. One of those is Donkey Kong Country Returns. I own it on the Wii. It's fantastic. The 3DS port, from what I understand, is almost identical. If you've never played it and you enjoy the Donkey Kong Country games, definitely give that one a try. Another one is Fire Emblem. Sorry. Fire Emblem on the 3DS is an amazing game. Someone's actually borrowing that from me right now, so I don't have a copy to show you. Not that you need to see it. If you're watching this, you probably have that game or you know about it already. One more that I've purchased, I've heard good things about, but I have not played because I don't have a Circle Pad Pro, which is an attachment, if you don't know, that gives you kind of two thumb pads. And it's apparently very awesome. I've never played Kid Icarus because I don't own one either. But the game that I do own that made me wish that I had the Circle Pad Pro is Resident Evil Revelations. And I've heard good things and bad things. I'm pretty sure that they released this at least on the PS3, so I don't know. If you like Resident Evil, supposedly it's not the same amount of garbage that 5 and 6 were. It's kind of reminiscent of the older Resident Evil games, but do I recommend it on the 3DS? I don't know. I haven't played it yet. I don't think I would want to without the Circle Pad Pro, so maybe check it out on one of the other systems if you can. The last two games here are just kind of in here by default. That's Mario Kart 7 and Super Mario 3D Land. I'm really tired of Mario. I've been tired of Mario for years. So really I'm just kind of throwing these in there so you guys know, if you don't, that they exist. Mario Kart 7's pretty fun, especially if you want to play with other people. Super Mario 3D Land, I didn't like it. You know, I just don't get the continued draw to the Mario formula. I mean, we could really get into it here, probably with the with the Wii U and some of the games that have been coming out lately, but that's not what this video is for. If you like Mario, you might like Mario 3D Land. Thought I'd throw it in. Mario Kart 7, it's Mario Kart. It's a fun time. Now, there are two games that are on my radars thus far for 2014. One's an RPG and one's a platformer for the 3DS. The first one is the RPG. It's called Bravely Default. Now, there is already a demo available on the eShop, I believe, as of last week, and it looks very, very exciting to me. It looks very similar to kind of like the older style Final Fantasy games, think like 7, 8, 9. That's what the video is kind of reminding me of. Now, I haven't played the demo. It's downloaded on my 3DS, and I will do it. But if you're into RPGs and you haven't heard of this game, definitely check it out. Now, the second game that's made my radar so far for 2014 is a new Yoshi's Island game. Now, art direction in Yoshi Island, you know, a lot of you have played it, and a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. The whole crying baby thing is annoying, you know, the colors are all cutesy, the art direction's what it is, but, you know, to me, it's probably in my top 10 quality titles for the Super Nintendo, if I was to make a list. It's a solid platformer, and if you like platformers, don't let the graphics scare you, just check it out. That's what I did, and I love it. So I'm really looking forward to this new entry into the Yoshi Island series, I guess. Should be a lot of fun. Well, guys, that pretty much concludes my little overview here of some of my 3DS collection. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps some of you guys out who are new to the 3DS world. Obviously, I didn't go over every quality title because I don't own them. For instance, a lot of you guys like to play the Pokemon games. I just don't get it. You know, it's not a slam, it's just not my deal. If you're into Pokemon, the new X and Y are supposed to be quite amazing, so you might want to check those out as well. But, you know, this isn't a perfect list. It's just, you know, a couple of recommendations for some of you guys that just got one and have been asking all of us what you should play.